welcome back to another video from Klem's Reefing. We have reached the 2-year mark, and things are coming along quite nicely. It's starting to look like a show tank now. Corals are actually growing into each other and starting to touch. So I believe it's time to do some trimming back. But let's make this video so you guys can see the full thickness of it. Yeah, in this video, we will cover like the corals, like how the corals are doing and how much growth I've experienced, the livestock, the fish, what kind of fish I got going, and the few losses that I've had. And then everybody's favorite, the equipment, the pumps and the lights and the dosing equipment that I use to run this huge system. And then lastly, some future updates, what I have planned for going down the road. So sit tight and let's get into this. All right, for those of you who are new to the channel, I built this house myself, and this is the framing that I built for the tank. The tank is 6 feet long by 3 feet wide by 31 inches tall, so 350 gallons. So here's what the tank looked like about 4 months in. Brand new tank, brand new water, no real bacteria to speak of. I had some algae growth going there, but everything really looked just really clean and chalky almost. Nothing growing on the bottom except for dust. All the frags were, really small there. I mean, I had some colonies from the other tank that I brought over, but mainly these were all of these corals in here were originally just about thumb size. But I did transfer some of these over from the tank, a holding tank, as I was building this house. So the Goniopora there, when this video was taken, the Goniopora was about 5-6 years old. I've since lost that colony, which just crushed me. And I don't know why. It was something in the water or whatever. It slowly just melted away. This isn't a peninsula tank, by the way. So we have a front side and a back side. Front side is in the living room. Back side is in the office. So let's take a look at the tank and see what it looks like today. All right, so here we are today, and as you can see, this is the front view of the tank. Everything is really grown in. I really have some full colonies going on now with great color. I'm just really happy with the way the tank is looking nowadays. Some colonies are growing into each other and they're just starting to touch. I have not had any problems with coral warfare yet. But like I was saying in the beginning of the video, I think it's time to do some trimming back and maybe putting in some new colonies, taking out some basic stuff and replacing it with fancier acros, that type of thing. I haven't really made a decision as to what goes where, but we'll just play that by ear as it goes along. So let's check out the back side of the tank. All right, guys, so if you go around into the office, this is the back side of the tank. Looks really good. I'm kind of partial to the front side of the tank, but there is a lot going on back here, namely all the Euphilia that is growing on the bottom right side of the tank there. It's kind of like my Euphilia forest. I've been trying to grow chalices and monty caps on the bottom, encrusting monties on the bottom of the tank. And then on the bottom left side of the tank, we've got a couple toadstools over there with a clownfish that's hosting it. My other clownfish are out in the equipment room hosting anemones, but I could not catch that guy, so that's where he stays. The giant coral in the middle, the purple guy, the Acropora there, the tallest coral in the middle is, I call it the shadow maker of death, because it just wants to shadow everything and kill everything underneath it. I've already had to trim that thing back 3 or 4 times just within the first couple of years here to kind of keep it in check. But and then the Green Star polyps on the overflow, trying to grow that out. But yeah, this is what the backside looks like. All right, guys, let's take a quick minute here and take a look at some shots from the top down. All right, guys. So fish-wise, with this tank, I have kind of moved towards having smaller fish with a couple select bigger fish in the main display. So I've got some chromis in there, some smaller wrasse fish, and cardinal fish. I've got some blue-eyed cardinal fish in there as well. But my bigger fish, I have kind of taken out and moved them into the equipment room. So like the chevron tang and the horseshoe tang, those are two really big fish. I took them out of the display and put them in the equipment room. The only fish losses that I've had are the butterfly fish, the margined butterfly fish. I lost him for some unknown reason. I just woke up one day and he had perished. And then the blue hippo tang, he just jumped off of the side there and found like a 3-inch wide hole that he could fit through and just went down that hole and died underneath the tank. So I haven't replaced him, but I have been really enjoying the smaller fish in the main display with a couple select bigger fish, like the Achilles tang. He's kind of like the star of the show. And then the purple tang, the yellow tang, and the powder blue. The powder blue, he's kind of a new addition. I think he's been in here like almost a year now. So far he's been a model citizen. I think that's because the Achilles tang is the big boss of the tank and kind of keeps that powder blue from raising hell. So, but yeah, everything's going well in the fish department. All right, guys, so let's get into the equipment side of this video. It's pretty simple and straightforward for inside here at the display. Really, the only equipment that I have in here is the controllers for the MP60s and the Panther Ray pumps. I have them down below in a cabinet, but that's the only equipment that is kept out here in the house for noise and smell reasons. It just makes for a really just like piece of furniture environment for the tank here. Other than that, I have my light bars up here. Over the tank, I've got 3 Neptune system skylights. The spread on those is 2 foot by 2 foot. And so 3 of them blankets this tank in light pretty effectively. Obviously, those lights can grow corals. I did beef it up a little bit with 2 Reef Bright XHO, just blue strip lights on either side of those skylights. And then in the middle there, I just have 1 Kessel 360XE, I believe, just to add some shimmer and some punch to get it down to the bottom of the tank there, just right in the middle. I would like to add another like spotlight one down here on the end. But other than that, I mean, we would just have an exhaust hood up here. That exhaust fan kicks on every hour for about 10 minutes and just sucks all the humidity out and puts it outside. That really works really well. The light bar, I have the ability to raise it up if I really want to get in there. But I've never really had to do that. For the most part, I just use like grabbing poles to like get down to the bottom of the tank if I need to. But yeah, equipment wise, that's basically it. I do run a Herbie overflow on this tank. So it's like one supply, it branches off into two supplies, and then I have two returns, a main siphon return and then an emergency overflow, and they all go out to the equipment room. If you guys are new here, you might not know that all the equipment and all the plumbing and all the returns are out there in the equipment room. So why don't we go take a look at that setup out there, and we'll show you what's going on out there. All right, so let's head on out to the garage here. You'll have to excuse the mess. This is the real deal out here. So let's turn on the lights. So over here we just have a like a 220 vat bin for just automatic water changes. It comes on every night and mixes it for an hour. I'm just using Instant Ocean reef salt, just the plain Jane stuff, because I dose all my trace elements myself using the moonshiner's method. So that's how I'm doing it nowadays. Every once in a while I might beef it up to the reef crystals, but for the most part I'm just using the basic stuff. So in here is probably every reefer's dream. I know when I was first starting out in the hobby, this was something that I always dreamed about having, is my own equipment room. And finally I've got one, but this is my little man cave here. I'll come out and do all my little dosing and messing with frags and stuff out here. So come on in. All right, so here we have the equipment room. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let me tell you a little bit about it. All right, guys, let's just do a little handheld rundown of the equipment room really fast here before we get into everything in there. So basically this room is 12 feet long, 6.5 feet wide by 10 feet tall. So really tall ceilings up there. And so what that means is that tank back there, that tank right there on the bottom, that's a 350 gallon acrylic aquarium. It's 6 feet wide, and to get that in this room, I had to put it in there before I had the wall and the door up. So if that tank ever comes out, it would have to be chopped up and taken out in tiny little pieces if it ever did come out, and I don't really think that it ever will, knock on wood. But basically from left to right over here, we just got all my supplies and extra pumps and extra tubing, my Reef Moonshiner bottles that I dose everything with, extra reagent bottles, bottles of like phosphate remover, Pro, nitrate additives, you know, the ups and downs, and alkalinity up, alkalinity down, all those extra chemicals and stuff I keep up here. My chop saw, extra Apex stuff, extra reagents. I Now I buy stuff in 5-gallon buckets from BRS because that's just the cheapest way to do it. If you buy once a year in October, their best price of the year sale before Black Friday, that's usually their best price of the year. We've got the calcium reactor there, the top shelf up there. There's a chiller, another tank that I just have anemones and clownfish in. And as you circle around to the right, we just got some more decorations. All my Apex gear and MP60 and 40 stuff, battery backup, RODI system with a, I think that's an RODI buddy up there. And then lastly, mostly importantly down here, we've got a reef tank shop sink. And then right down there on the floor, we've got a floor drain. And that was just something that I added at the last minute, but that floor drain has been one of the coolest features to have in a reef room. All right, guys, so let's get into the little nuances of what goes on out here in the equipment room. So let's talk about heat. So out here in the equipment room, I actually have, I've got some extras up there, but I've got 2 of the BRS titanium 600-watt heaters that are controlled by the Apex. And the temperature probe is out here in this tank. So when this tank gets hot or cold, it controls the heat. And this tank fluctuates in temperature a lot more than the inside display tank because it's out here in essentially the garage. I don't have a heater out here. I do have air conditioning and fan for the summers. But during the winter, I just keep the door closed, and all the equipment, lights and stuff, keep the temperature in this room stable enough to be able to just have these 2 600-watt heaters control the temperature in this tank. And what that does is it also controls the temperature in the display in the house. Turnover on this system, I think, is like 2.5, 3 times an hour. So it's constantly cycling colder or warmer water from in the display out to here. And so that seems to be a really good setup for controlling the heat. AC, I've got a little AC up here, a little chiller. And it's the same thing with the chiller. The chiller is controlled out here by the Apex, turns on and off when I need it to, but actually I don't ever have to use the chiller because I've got fans out here in the summertime that I run, and I've got a little window AC unit that I'll run in the middle of summer, and that keeps this room chilled. That and what also helps me is, you can't tell, but this room here, this floor is below grade. So this room is below the ground by about 2.5 feet. And so in the summertime, that really helps with keeping the temperature down in this room. The whirring, the noise that you've heard in the background through all these videos out here is actually the Neptune Systems dose. As all you know, it's kind of a loud pump, but being out here in the equipment room, it's not a big deal unless you're filming. But that thing is coming on and off, doing automatic water changes out here. And right now I've got it set to change 5 gallons of water a day. Last month I was running it at 10 gallons of water a day just because I wanted to clean the tank out. So that's the noise that you're hearing there. So lights out here, interesting enough, these are those are the Ecotech Radeon Gen 4s. And they're older lights, but they sure do grow corals. I kind of think that they grow corals out here in the equipment room actually faster than the main display. It's the same water in both tanks, and believe it or not, this system out here seems to grow coral faster and happier than the main display. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I think it has a lot to do with these Gen 4 Radions. And so they are just working like a champ. So, yeah. All right, guys. So let's talk about auto top off. I've got a 30-gallon brute container down there that I use for all the top off water in this 700-gallon system. It's all run through a Kalkwasser reactor. So all the top off water is run through the Kalkwasser reactor. And that is controlled with a Kimura, one of the little Kimura pumps up there. I've got it set at, it's currently running at 17 right now, and that runs all the time. So at 17, it's just keeping up with the water level. So it's like the end of winter right now. There's not a lot of evaporation. So I've got it set, I think, where it needs to be. In the summertime, when it gets a little hotter, I'll bump it up a little bit. But I don't, it's really not too complicated. I just run it all the time. And I watch my salinity, you know, just here and there. I'll check it every once in a while to stay up on things. But it's not a super scientific, crazy, complicated thing. I just run it through a Kalkwasser reactor and keep the fresh water topped up in the tank. And I don't really even refresh that Kalkwasser reactor anymore. I used to really use that to keep the pH up and stuff, and now I might only refresh the Kalkwasser like every 3 or 4 months. But nowadays I just use it, you know, to run all the top water through there. And it really, I don't think it really doses that much Kalkwasser to the system that much anyways. What I do really use to keep up with the pH instead of Kalkwasser is I run sodium hydroxide. And that is just nasty chemical stuff, but I usually, and it's dosing right now, but that dose is about, I think it's like, what, 10 mils an hour or something like that. It keeps the pH up. My pH this morning is 8.09, and at the end of the day, it'll be pushing probably 8.25 or 8.3, something like that. So yeah, that's how I deal with all the top-off water. All right, guys, so let's talk about the calcium reactor. This is a Geo's Reef commercial calcium reactor. It holds 70 pounds of media, so it's quite the big boy. I don't think that will ever run, I'll ever run out of capacity with this 700-gallon system with that. So I did had to upgrade to this because my smaller calcium reactor couldn't keep up. So I haven't had any problems with this. It's a really nice calcium reactor. I supply it with a Kimura pump. This is a little bigger of a Kimura pump just because I run a lot of effluent through this thing. And I do push it. So I push the tank water through the reactor, and then it comes out and it doses the effluent into my skimmer here. And so if you guys could see this, it's just below a stream. I messed with it here, so it's just now keeping up, but there it goes. So it's just below a stream. So it's dripping so any faster it would be a stream, but it's basically like drip, 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 drip. It's really putting it out. So that will keep my tank. Lately, right now, the setting that I have it on. Let me get this back in there. The setting that I have it on, it's set at 9. I know that doesn't mean anything to you guys, but that is keeping the tank right at 10 alkalinity. I'd like it at about 9.5, but as we know, you kind of go very slow with changes and increases and decreases with your calcium reactor. And how I control that is actually, believe it or not, if I want to lower the alkalinity in my tank, I will just turn down the CO2 bubbles, and that will increase the pH of the reactor, and it will slowly, very slowly lower the alkalinity in my tank. And I'll either leave it there, or when it gets to where I want, I'll just chalk it up a little bit and hold it at the level that I want. I think the calcium reactor right now has a pH of let's see, it has a pH of 6.18 right now, and it's just chooching right along. I just use the ARM, the bigger pieces of ARM calcium reactor media. So one other thing that I do run in this tank is I do run carbon on the tank. I run the RXO, the really fine charcoal through here. Yeah, the ROX ROX stuff. I run that through a little media reactor right here, and I usually run it a month on, a month off. Very occasionally, I'll run GFO through there. And I recently discovered, like, 6 months ago, that GFO will really suck out all the trace elements out of your tank. So I was dosing moonshiners and then running GFO, and I was just blowing through all my trace elements. And come to find out, what was going on was the GFO was just sucking all that stuff right out of the tank. And so since I've laid off the GFO, all my trace elements have been a little more stable, and I haven't been quite having to dose as much, which is nice. But every once in a while, to control phosphates, I'll use GFO. It sucks because I've got like a whole 5-gallon bucket of GFO, so I'll probably never use all that, but lifetime supply, right? But now mainly to control phosphates, I'll use this is actually a swimming pool phosphate remover. It's made by Sea Clear, and it's lanthanum chloride. So when I run lanthanum chloride, I will just, this is 700 gallons of water, and what I do is I'll just suck up like 10 mils of lanthanum chloride, and all at once I just squirt it in the tank. It clouds up the water really bad. The alkalinity drops a little bit when I do that, but it just, within 3-4 hours, everything's back to normal again. The fish don't like it. If you dose it like that, don't squirt it at your fish, because you'll notice that lanthanum chloride, it makes them breathe a little faster. So sometimes I will just drip that 10 mils in really slowly over 5 minutes or so, but sometimes I just squirt it in. But I use lanthanum chloride to control my phosphates now, so yep. All right, guys, so thanks for sticking with me here on the equipment room tour, but this is the last of it. So all that said, just to run the display in the house, and then this tank, this 350-gallon tank that I have here, is just where I keep some of my more signature SPS corals, like the expensive stuff like Home Wrecker, Rainbow Splice, and a bunch of other big name stuff. But I grow them out from little fingernail sized frags out here, and then what I'm planning to do is do some trimming in the main display here, and then putting some new colorful sticks in there. But yeah, so this tank basically holds those frags. I grow them out here, and then it also, like I was telling you, I have some of my bigger fish out here. There's the horseshoe tang. He's just a big guy. Beautiful fish though. I've had him for what, 7 years I think, and that the blackfish, that's an adult chevron tang. I've had him for almost 10 years I think. He's been around my system for a while. And so lastly out here, I just do all my dosing out here. This is a GHL 4-port doser. And like I was saying, I dose the sodium hydroxide. I dose vinegar for carbon dosing. And then lastly, on the end down there, I dose Red Sea Replenish to keep up on the trace elements. I'm not sure if I already talked about that already, but so yeah, that's the equipment room, guys. Let's go back in the house there, and we'll wrap this video up. All right, guys, if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching the whole thing. There's a lot of things that go on with this tank that I just kind of wanted to give you the rundown on. Maybe you guys run your tank similar to how I do it. Maybe you run it different. Maybe this gave you some ideas on how you can run things differently. I like to think I run mine pretty efficiently as far as cost-wise goes. And the calcium reactor, I think, is really for bigger systems, is really the most cost-effective way to go about keeping your elements in check. So, but yeah, future plans for this tank is really in the near term, just to trim some stuff back. I've got a bunch of corals that are growing over the top and plating out and shading everything underneath. And then I think I might add some sticks just to get some new color and some new places in here. And then maybe later on the year I might upgrade my lights. I don't know. We'll kind of see how that plays out. But I would like to get more of a wider spread over the top of the tank instead of just a single row down the center, if that makes sense. And maybe another spotlight, a Kessel spotlight. But yeah, other than that, we're just going to keep growing corals and turn this thing into the monster SPS tank that it is. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I do actually take the time to read every single one of those comments. And so if you have any questions, I'll answer them to the best I can. But other than that, happy reefing, guys. Thanks again for watching. Later.